Hey guys, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to see what we've got going on this. On today's video, we're going to see what we can do about building the coolest bridge possible out of some scrap lumber, and we're going to check out the options on our pinion angle debacle. So if this is something you're interested in, stick around. We're gonna get right into this. All right, the last video cut itself off after 15 seconds, so let's figure this out. So this is our scrap pieces that we got. We got some 2x2 red iron and a piece of Schedule 80. We've got all this scrap piece down here from various projects. I got a bunch of small pieces of roll cage stuff that I have. Just a bunch of scrap, and I've got about a quarter sheet of 1/8 inch sitting back there that we can dimple die up and make something cool. Our objective on this is to make a neat bridge for this. We are going to try to cover up most of this curve simply because we are going to have to run stuff on the outside of the C-notch, being in this area here. So I've got a pile of stuff over there. I've got some clean stuff sitting on the floor. Let's see if we can figure this out. Now, as far as our pinion angle goes, this isn't going to fly. I've got to cut those welds and do that. But first things first, let me start getting some tools out and see what we can make cool. So I'll catch up with you guys here shortly. Hey, quick update. Man, this would be the third time I did this. I didn't even realize I'd done 2 videos and have the music in the background going. So that's not gonna work. So let's talk about where we're at. So you've seen the intro. We were gonna go ahead and build a bridge on here. That didn't happen. Once I've got the cross braces going, even eyeball wise, it was way off. I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about. So I've got the level on there now, and it's not horribly off. We got the bubble touching one side of the line. What was going on is the driver's side was 1 inch lower than the passenger side. So we farted around with it, tried to figure it out. What it boiled down to is I never tightened up any of these bolts back here. They were cinched down, but they weren't cinched down. They were bolted up, but they weren't secure. So therefore, if you stood on this, this whole back corner would rack down. Now the C-notch is holding it in. However, when all your forelink and everything is loose, this is all loose. Everything was just sagging. So what I had to do was get a jack this side up, get that even with this side as they sit. You know, it's running parallel. And had all those loosened back off, and then just started, you know, impacting there, back up, just getting all it done. So now we're about a quarter inch out from one side to the other, which isn't awesome, and I'm still going to see what I can do. I'm going to loosen all of the drinker side and get it where it's level. It needs to come down just a scotch, and then button all those back up. Now, that being said, in the meantime, we think we got the pinion angle, or I think I got the pinion angle where it's going to need to be. Now, whenever I started that was my main concern was, hey, let's get the bridge built, let's get the pinion angle set. I need to concentrate more on getting this engine setting. I mean, you can tell it's not sitting level at all. That whole back shaft mount needs to come up 2 inches, well, yeah, about 2 inches. And that's not a problem. I've already got some spacers cut. I've got a little deal made up, so I'm gonna get under there and do that. Now, I went ahead and put a Proform starter on there. My big factory starter wasn't going to fit with them headers, so put the Proform on there. The teeth on the Bendix were hitting, locking it up. So I wound up taking a look at it, and I had the flywheel on backwards, so I wound up having to pull the engine, flip that back around, put it on there. Now the torque converter matches up to it much better, where I'm not concerned if I'm pulling it out of the pump. Got plenty of room for the starter, so I think we're back on square one here. Now I've got the carburetor gasket, I've got gauges, I've got throttle linkage, I've got shift lever linkage for the transmission. I got the transmission mount. I got a fuel pump. I got fuel line, vacuum hoses. The screw-in inlets for the transmission for the cooler. I've got those, so I've got a ton of the small stuff that I'm going to go ahead and jump on because I'd like to fire this thing up over the weekend. The headers will be here tomorrow. So once we have the engine transmission set, then we're going to have a lot better idea on the pinion angle. And I've got the old drive shaft, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and just cut it down, cut the 14 inches out of it, hook it up as it was, and see if a two-piece will work. If a two-piece will work, I'll just have to make a different mount for the carrier bearing, like bring that, this is our carrier bearing mount, this big old horrendous looking thing right there. If I can make a mount that's up in here somehow that's flush, take that 3 inches out, that may give us enough room if I just build a mount for this, or a hoop in this for that. So I'm gonna get the engine done first, and that's where we're gonna start and get going on this. So if you guys want to hold your horses, I'll be back with an update here in just a few. Hey, I thought I'd make a video right quick. I don't know how many of you guys have ever used that Mr. Gasket throttle cable that goes through the firewall that you hook to your gas pedal in this little accessory bracket. Two things need to be mentioned. This accessory bracket, part number, what is it, 3068 is for a standard transmission, 3069 is for automatic. I think that's what it is. Let me see. Yeah, 6038 is standard, 6039 is automatic. But anyhow, so this is a really neat kit. Whenever you do this, run your cable through, put your nut and washer on the inside, then get this over here. So you're just gonna fit this up. I just stick it through the hole where I know it bottoms out, and then I mark my line right there. So that's part number 6039, this little bracket deal. I just know that I've seen these done incorrectly several times, and it's a real simple deal. So I've got that cable running through. I've got the stainless whip here. Put that little metal sleeve on the back side of your cut. That goes over the frayed ends. Tape your frayed where you're gonna cut it with. And don't use a hacksaw, use a cut-off wheel and cut that. And it goes together just as simple as that. Don't overthink this. Super simple little kit. I've used two or three of these. And I've done it wrong before, so it's not such a big deal. But just take your time and put your cable up through the dash, and then you got to get rid of the old cable. Get all that up through there. I've got it marked with some tape, so this is where my cut line is going to be right here. I'm going to cut it, thread it through. So I'll just stick this in through and thread it from the back side up under the dash, and then slide my ribbon cable in, or whatever you'd call that, your feed cable. Then snap it into place. And then once you get everything on there, then you cut it. Don't get all crazy with it. But that's it, just a little short video. Mr. Gasket, throttle, what would it be? Throttle wire assembly, Mr. Gasket, throttle cable bracket. So that's it. All right, guys, let me tell you about it. Oh, let me sit down first. Got the old faithful Crayola seat. So I hadn't got a bunch done this weekend. That previous little deal, I went ahead and started on the rear, and of course that turned into a mess. You've heard about that. Or not even a mess. It just turned it into something different. Anytime I get to talking, she has to get it on. Which is fine, Dixie. So I went ahead and just scratched that for now. I wrapped my brain around it, did what I can do. I'll come back to that. So what I've done is, y'all heard that I had flipped the transmitter. Oh man, it's so late at night. I've been just at this all day. I had to flip the flywheel around, got it back in. So here's where we stand engine wise. Carburetor gasket in there, bolts down, gauge down, filter down. Got a hose, filters, gaskets, kick down, throttle, or not kick down, throttle cable. All of that's done. top dead center, done. Plug wires ran, done. Distributor wires where they need to be. Starter in. Power wire going to the back. Got a battery tray in the back. Got everything pretty much done up front. If you notice, all those big wire bundles are gone. I've got those separated. Got the alternator wire here. Got the starter wire going back there. Got the other wires running underneath the cab where I can pull them back. So man, that's exciting. As of right now, this engine could bust off and run if I hook the fuel pump up to it, got some fuel to it, and put a little 12 volts on it. So that's good news. It's done. Still need to put motor mounts in. Still got to brace up the rear end of the, or not brace it up, raise the transmission mount on the tail shaft. I need to raise it up 1.5 inches to match the pinion angle coming off of the pinion, or to match the angle, to match the pinion angle. So I'm gonna crawl under there tomorrow, get that. Got the headers on, the collectors are on the back. I need to shorten down the transmission adjustment cable, got all that done. It still needs to come like 1 inch back so that it doesn't have a ton of tension bind, where it could get in a bind, I guess. You can see where somebody welded in a piece to it, so I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna cut that back out. You know, scribe a deep line there where I can just match it back up and burn it in. Why don't y'all go play? Go play. So that's done. Oh, I got all the gauges in. They look kind of cool. It's really ghetto. I'll show you the circuit map that's on the back of the cluster. It was in horrible shape when I pulled all that out. So I'm just going to try to find one that's in good shape, and I don't want to do Dakota Digital or any of that stuff. This isn't going to get that fancy. I just want it to be on airbags, look cool, and haul ass. I don't want a bunch of fancy stuff in it. I'll never recoup my money. So I kind of ghetto surprised the gauges. They look good. They look real good. And it was kind of hard finding older style looking gauges. Everybody has the newer bright lights, LED, and I wanted something that kind of blended in. I don't want everything to just stand out and pop, other than the headers, of course. And they're popping. So, oh, those headers are DNA, which I fought for 2 hours getting those on there. DNA engineering, I think, DNA racing. So I'm gonna pick you guys up right quick and show you around. Give me just a second. Okay, keep in mind everything right now is in complete shambles. This shop looks, I mean, it's bad. I've got nuts and bolts. I mean, I've got tools everywhere. However, as far as being in and out the last 3 days, I've just been cooking on the back burner and coming out here when I get a minute. Headers are done. I need to run this back to the back, but that's through there. This goes to the starter. Alternator wires there. Pressure gauge is done. Need to run a wire for the choke. Need to get the little lever for the springs. Got the springs, got that on. Got my temp set through there. I ran everything underneath. I got copper oil pressure line. I tried to do this once. All of this, it has to come down. This all goes to the bottom, so I'm gonna have to lengthen that or move that. I tried to get the wipers off, couldn't get that done. So really all that's left on the front is accessories and the radiator. So we're moving relatively well on that. Sorry, the camera just bumped. I'm trying to get you guys set up here. So that's that. Let me go in here. Oh, well, I'll take you in there in a second. So this is where the battery box is gonna be. I'm not going to weld that on. I'm going to weld some tabs on the box and put that on where I can bolt it up right there. I want everything where I can take it back off if something happens to this truck. Other than the C-notch, of course, you're not going to get that off. I did get a grill and some headlight bezels from Thad. They were off a motorhome, and I didn't figure they'd fit, and they don't. The grill would, I assume, but I'm not even there yet. Let me show you the gauges. This is kind of cool. Can you guys see that? And I just went on the outside. I just took the gauges out of the back, cut the back of the plastic, drilled out that front part of the plastic, and just put those in. That way when I put the bezel back up, it's just kind of there. Nothing else went on here. I've got the pin switches on the way. I didn't hook the speedo back up. I didn't hook any of that up, guys. The fuel tank gauge, of course, it's not going to work, so they're not running that same fuel tank. So I'm going to have to get in the dash and do some stuff, because I do want blinkers and all that. It all needs to work. But let me show you the map, the circuit map that come off there. Let me clean out a piece of this. Can you guys see that without having a huge shadow on it? It is bad. Like, you can see where circuits were burned up and all sorts of stuff. So I'm going to try to find a new circuit map with the dash, like all of it together. I do have, on the oil pressure side, I have an oil pressure switch that I can put back in place or put just above in that other oil galley hole, so that I can run the dash, because I don't mind having the dash running. And all of the harness is still intact inside the cab. Keep that in mind. So I can't get any dash lights or anything without that circuit map. So the temporary solution is just that. I'm going to have to find a way to get that remedied. And when I do that, then I'll go back. I'll leave those gauges in there, but go back to a, oh, what do you call it? The dummy light one. You know, you guys get what I'm getting at. So that all the factory stuff still works. I'll put it that way. Still got to cut those out, so we're still a long way, guys. I just want to give you guys an update. There hasn't been any work videos. I've just been out here for an hour or two. Go back in, get this done. Go to the game, get this done. Come back out for 2 hours. Go back in. So it's just kind of a mess, but progress is progress, and I just wanted to report on that. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you hanging out. I'll probably just make this one, because the next thing we're going to do is the fuel pump and the battery tray. So I'll update you guys on that. This is Rock Hollow quits for the night. So that being said, peace out. Potter County Patina. Deuces.